So for those who are new among us and who haven't yet attended any of the previous webinars, let me just briefly introduce the concept and the aim of these webinars. So it's the whole webinar series composed of 5 webinars. And the aim is really to raise awareness among the Czech institutions, like what's going on here in Brussels, who is represented here, and why it's important to be present here in Brussels. So during these 5 webinars, we have had almost 20 associations been presented here. And even though membership in some of those is by invitation only, there will be cases of those also today, you can still somehow benefit from their services, attend their events or subscribe to their newsletters and so on, and those expand your networks. There are also some networks of which some of the Czech universities might already be members of, but it might be that not all the faculties are benefiting from the membership as much as they could, or they are not even aware that they are members of this association. So we would really like to give you some general overview, like who is represented here and how you can benefit from being members of them. So since we have really packed agenda today and we have only 1 hour scheduled for this event, I don't want to steal much of your time, and I'm really happy to welcome here among us 6 distinguished speakers from 5 associations of universities. So today we have on our agenda the future of professional higher education, EURASHE, who is represented here by John. Then we have UAS for Europe, represented by Anneli and Tim. LERU, the League of European Research Universities, represented by Laura. EuroTech Universities Alliance, we have Tatiana here with us. And last but not least, we have Matthias from CESAER. So that's the order, how the speakers will present their associations. And before I give the floor to the first speaker, to John, just a couple of housekeeping rules. So as already mentioned, the event is being recorded, and the recording then will be placed on our YouTube channel during the next week. So you can also spread then the recording among your colleagues. For smoother streaming, please mute your mics if you are not speaking, and don't forget to unmute yourself once you will be asked to speak. And last but not least, of course, do not hesitate to pose your question anytime in the chat or by raising your virtual hand. If the time allows us, there will be a Q&A session at the very end. So first we will hear the presentations, and at the end there should be still some time for your question. If not, you can still send your questions to chat, and we will then collect them and send them to the speakers. So that was it from my side. It only took me 5 minutes, so we still have 55 minutes to go. And with this, I would like to welcome among us John Edwards, the Secretary General from Aberration. And John, the floor is yours.
Yes, good morning. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's fantastic to be with you, and also to be, especially to be with different Czech people today, this morning. So, you've got my presentation there, I guess. You've put it up yourself, have you? You'll share it. Okay. So, yeah, my name is John Edwards, and I'm Secretary General of EURASHE. If you could put the next slide on, please. So EuRASHE represents all types of higher education institutions that somehow offer professional higher education and perform applied research. So professional higher education is now quite a well-known term, and it's in many policy documents, for example, of the European Commission. And it really, in essence, is about a practical orientation of higher education as opposed to a purely theoretical one. And it varies very widely across the European Union, but what defines it, I think, is that it's close to the world of work, to employers, to civil society, to regional economies, that provides the skills and the applied knowledge that is needed for example, local and regional development, but increasingly also internationalization with similar types of organizations within Europe and elsewhere. So next slide. I'm going to be very brief to keep to my 10 minutes, but this is basically what EURASHE does. It strives to develop and transform European society through professional higher education. And the mission there, of course, is to strengthen the impact of such activities. I think what's important, and this says something about your series, which I think is a fantastic idea, so congratulations, a webinar series, is the most important thing to remember in Brussels is that you can't do everything on your own, especially sort of the small fragmented nature of the education sector. And so, EuRASHE partners with many institutions in Brussels and others related to the EU, and including those who are here today, but many others. So if we go on to the next slide, this is just about members. So we do have members from most European countries there. You can see the differences. There are national associations of professional higher education, and there are individual members. So in the Czech Republic, we're very happy to have CESAER, which is the Czech Association of Professional Higher Education Schools, of which we worked a lot on before. You might know my predecessor as Secretary General, Michal Kapicek, himself is Czech. And so, we can move on to the next slide. But on members, I would just say it's important to underline that EuRASHE, we represent all types of higher education institutions that offer such courses and applied research. In binary systems, they can have their own sort of special status in national law, but in other countries such as Spain and France, where there's no binary system, we have a range of members. And even, traditionally, comprehensive universities, we have also those members because they offer, as part of their curriculum, a professional higher education. So like many associations in Brussels, we have a board and a secretariat that work closely together. I won't go into more detail there, but you'll have the slides for all our names in case you need to contact us. So next slide. Just, I think, an important theme in Brussels at the moment is the European Universities Initiative, and how that kind of works with associations like ours and like the others here today is still developing. But I would like to add that there's two European University alliances that really were born from EuRASHE, and both these coordinators, you can see them, Hannes from St. Pölten UAS in Austria and John from Mondragon University in Spain, they are both board members of EuRASHE and are coordinating two of these alliances that are very linked to applied research and professional, or in the case of EU for dual education, which is a growing area. So next slide. Yes, we have priorities, thematic priorities, and you can see them here. Won't go through each one, just to say that we try and link what we do to the priorities of the European Commission, because it's better to say in Brussels how we can help you rather than how you can help us. I think that's an important thing to remember. So by showing that you link to what you're doing to the agenda of the institutions helps a lot. Out of all these priorities, I'd just like to highlight one, which is the local and regional impact. This is really important for EuRASHE and our members. And when it comes, for example, to funding, I'm sure we'll discuss a lot today, things like Horizon and Erasmus, the programs, centrally managed programs. But there is actually much more resources in, especially for countries which are in EuRASHE's membership, in the European structural and investment funds, like the ERDF, which invests heavily in education and research and things like smart specialization that I worked on for 9 years in the Commission. So let's go to the next slide, please. I'm not going to go through all the activities, just to say that we implement our strategy through activities with members, which is the most important thing, to get them involved in the activities, to link them up with policymakers in Brussels. And I think for the policymakers to they have a keen interest in knowing what our members are up to in order to have evidence for their policies. Anyway, we'll go on. You can look at these activities at your leisure, but I think the new strategy, because I've been the Secretary General for less than a year, and our new strategy has those themes that you've seen, but they're implemented through communities of practice. I invite you all to be part of our communities of practice because they're open to both members and non-members. They are co-financed for members, but non-members are welcome to join, and they are on our sort of three main planks of what we do: research, quality assurance of higher education, and future skills. And you can join the one on quality assurance if you like in person in Namur on the 13th of October. So next slide, please. As I said at the beginning, you can't do everything on your own, and we engage with various structures, both EU and internationally. I think highlight just two or three. I think the European higher education area that you will know is about the Bologna process. So EURASHE is more than 30 years old, and we have an established place, for example, in the Bologna follow-up group, where we work with ministers and other associations, stakeholders, that is, or stakeholder members as well as national members, to implement the Bologna process. And it still has work to be done. It isn't completed. At the same time, there is now the European education area that is coming up, that is led by the European Commission, and we are a member of the working group on higher education, the expert group, and so we are trying to see how these two areas are developing. I think that's the critical issue now in higher education at European level. And sort of finally, the other two is partners within the sector. We are a member of the E4 group, that's the European University Association, the European Students' Union, where we've just got someone to work with us now, which I'm happy about, and ENQA, that's the quality assurance agencies. Along with them, we come up with policy as a sector, and we interact with the European Commission. And then finally, other organizations, platforms we've helped set up. We're founding members of UAS for Europe, and I know Annalie will speak soon, especially on the research and Horizon program, building the reputation of University of Applied Sciences, and VET for EU2, which is about the higher vocational education and training. We're really in between the two sectors of higher education and higher VET. So the next slide. How many minutes have I got left, Denise? Tell me when I'm almost finished. But this, so we'll establish an association that we have an annual conference that sort of brings together more than 150 people. It was in Brussels this year, which was fantastic because we have lots of speakers from the European Commission. But next year it's going to be in Romania and Bucharest from the 7th to 9th of June. You're all very welcome to join us. And networking is an extremely important part of developing your profile in the European Union, building projects, and this is a great place to do that. So next slide. Yeah, of course, like other associations, we do develop positions on things like micro-credentials or the ERA hubs from Horizon programme, two areas that are key to our development. And the next one. Yeah, projects, that's the last slide. We help our members to get involved in the European programs. It's one of the main things we do. We have projects where EuRASHE is a member with often consortium with our members, and you can see sort of the range of projects that we're involved there, funded by Erasmus and Horizon. So next slide, I think, is probably the end. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for listening to me, and please get in touch if you'd like to work with us. And I'm open to all sorts of ideas. Thank you.
Perfect, John. Thanks a lot. You kept it exactly within 10 minutes. Thank you also for stressing the importance of networking. I think that's really kind of a takeaway message our participants should leave with. And also, it was really interesting how you mentioned the community of practice and how you help your members to get into the consortia of EU funding projects. So I myself will have some questions to you later on. But now I would like to give the floor to our two other speakers from UAS for Europe, which was already mentioned by John. So we have two distinguished speakers with us, Anneli Kohl, who is a chair of this association, and then Tim Ubelen. So I hope I pronounce it correctly, and the floor is yours.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. So I'm Anneli Kohl, and thank you, Denisa and Bara, for inviting us. It's actually a logical sequence. I can easily follow up on lots of things that John just said, because our organizations work together very, very closely. Just some general comments on networking. I used to be government relations advisor for a big oil company working in Brussels. I'm new to the subject of education, but networking and lobbying is not new to me. So just a few observations. If you want to be visible, first of all, you have to know your own strength. What's your added value? That's the most important thing. And determine your stakeholders. What's in it for them in order to engage with you? That's very important. First, you need to be in Brussels. Brussels is a jungle. You need to be seen. You need to be able to choose the right occasions to meet possible stakeholders. Now, I'm based in The Hague, but luckily, US for Europe has a secretariat in Brussels, where Tim is the secretary. So that's important. And first of all, I think it's very important. You need to be realistic, choose your battle. You can't do everything when you're a small organization, but be unique. There has to be a need for your kind of organization. Otherwise, you may as well forget it. Now, there certainly is a need for US for Europe. In fact, the question to found an organization like US for Europe came from the Commission a few years ago, because basically there wasn't an institution, an association like us. So here we are, we're still very, very small. We're growing. My personal goal together with Tim is to strengthen the internal network, but hopefully also expand. And as you can see from our slide here, these are our current members. EURASHE is a very important member because through EURASHE we actually reach many, many other people. You see German associations, Denmark, Finland, and us. I work at the Vereniging Hogescholen, the association of all UASs in the Netherlands. So that's US for Europe at the moment. If we go to the next slide. So just to give you some facts and figures, all in all, this does mean that we cover some 450 UASs, 9 member associations. When you're small, like John said, I can't repeat it more often enough, you need to work through others, make yourself known, get your message across through an association. In that way, you'll have a much stronger voice. So it's quite a considerable amount of students that we cover, so to speak, and same goes for a research staff. And John mentioned CASPE, which is member of EuRASHE and through EuRASHE involved with US for Europe. Could I have the next slide, please? And this is how we are organized. Again, I won't dwell on all the slides too much because you'll be sent them afterwards. We have a general assembly. They meet regularly. The chair is Dutch at the moment, and the management committee consists of representatives from our members. So John sits on the management committee together with Tim and myself. And we meet every month online and discuss things that are happening, decide which topics we should cover or get involved with, and which subjects we just set aside. Could I have the next slide, please? Well, this is our mission. We are the go-to for applied research and innovation in Europe. So anyone who has a question on anything related to this, please turn to us and we'll help you. Not that we know everything, but we'll do our best to help you. And that's the main goal of our organization. Like I said, there's a clear need for US for Europe. We need to strengthen the voice of USs in Europe. And we provide a networking platform. We exchange knowledge. It's very informal. And we reach out to European institutions and relevant stakeholders. Next slide. So again, this is what we do in a nutshell. It's increasing the visibility of us. Could I have the next slide? So just a list. I don't want to dwell on everything, but this is what we're doing. Like I said, it's quite, we're a small network, but all in all, we do have an important voice. These are just a list of activities that we've been involved in. If you turn to the second half of the sheet, I'd like to point out the networking conference that we're going to host in Brussels, May next year, 23rd, 24th. You're very welcome to join us, and we'll share information through Denisa later on. It's going to be on the midterm horizon evaluation to give you some idea of the main topic, and we're expecting many important, interesting speakers. And it's a networking event. Could I have the next slide, please? Yeah. This is just to give you an idea of the projects that we were involved in or that we actually initiated. We issued a joint statement on the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. You may be aware of them. I think this is a nice piece of work and underlines the importance of our association. Next slide. This is again a slide which shows you what we're involved with at the moment. The ERA Forum, again, very important. Also a very complex issue. So again, we have to be very specific and choose those topics where we think we can add most value. Next slide, please. And here we've got the Innovation Action Plan, which was launched last year in the presence of Commissioner Maria Gabriel. And well, I must say we're very happy to see that the Commissioner takes a keen interest in our organization, and we'll keep her and her staff informed at very regular intervals. Next slide. Another position paper, Effective European Higher Education Cooperation. Again, one of those things that we issue regularly to make ourselves known and visible, and indeed underline the position of USs. Again, next slide. Yes, thank you for attention. I hope I was very, very brief and very, very fast. We also publish a newsletter. The next one will be issued just before Christmas. Everyone can subscribe for free. It's online, and it would be really nice if we could have some Czech subscribers after this call. And should you have any question on anything, please let us know. You've got our contact details here in the slides, and we're just very, very happy to engage with you. And looking forward to meeting some Czech representatives, perhaps at the conference next year.
Thank you, Anneli. Also, thanks for the invitation for the networking conference. I can reassure you that we will be definitely there. And also good luck with expanding your network. And as Anneli mentioned already, we will send you then the link for the newsletter, so you can all subscribe to that. I don't know if Tim wants to add something or...
There's only one minor comment I would like to add. One addition. I think Anneli summarized our activities very well already. You will have the slides as well. All the initiatives that are in the slides, you will find the hyperlinks to the respective sites. Only one thing that is maybe worth mentioning to those of you who are not familiar with networking activities in Brussels is that, and that is also that's something we had to learn. We are a very young network, and as Anneli said, kind of initiated on the initiative of the former Director General for Research and Innovation, Robert Jan Smits. Network activities are divided into two parts. On the one hand, you communicate to the outside in Brussels. You try to influence policies. You try to increase your visibility on the part of the European institutions and other respective stakeholders in Brussels and beyond. But then another very important part, and that is something that we actually learned through our members, is to communicate to the inside of the network, meaning membership engagement, creating a platform for knowledge exchange, for matchmaking, also transmitting information, developments that happened on the European level to, in our case, the regions, because universities of applied sciences are mostly embedded in their regions. And so part of the internationalization efforts of us at UAS for Europe, and I think it's not so different at EURASHE as well, is also to make institutions that are embedded in their respective regions aware of what is happening on a European scale. That's only a minor addition I wanted to add. Thank you, Denisa.
Thanks a lot, Tim. I think this was a really important comment to be made. So now, as the time is pushing us, I would directly give floor to Laura, Senior Policy Officer from League of the European Research Universities, also known here in Brussels as LERU. So Laura, the floor is yours.
Yes. Just a moment, trying to get my presentation up. It should be there. Do you already see it?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's starting.
All right, perfect.
Now we can see it perfect.
So I'll try to be brief. I have many slides, but I will skim through them very, very quickly. So what is LERU? Well, as you can read, we're an association of research-intensive universities in Europe. And we mostly focus on, of course, research policy, education policy, and also innovation policy. We are a non-for-profit organization. We have 23 members, and we were set up in 2002, and we celebrated our 20th anniversary this year. That is our mission statement. I'm not going to go into that. What is our purpose? Well, we want to be relevant for all research-intensive universities. So what we do is not directly to the benefit of our members. We do not, for instance, support the matchmaking for European projects. We are really focusing on policy and not on the project side. We develop best practices and we try to influence policy at European level, but also within our institutions. And it's a balance between our activities, which has shifted a lot over the years. We've seen a focus on EU policy and lobbying for the past 10 years, but now we see more of a shift towards more exchange of best practices and developing positions on the things that really our members think are important and not necessarily come from the European agenda. Of course, we will continue to do both, but we can tell that there is a shift. And that has also to do with the fact that we have members in the UK and Switzerland who are at the moment, of course, less engaged at EU level for the very well-known reasons. Our membership is upon invitation only. We are a small organization and we also want to stay a small organization. It is a conscious choice because we want to really work with the people from our universities, and I'll come back to that later. But also we want to be quick and versatile, and when we want to reach a position, we want to really consult our members, but also want to be able to respond quickly. So that's why we think it's important to stay small, to be able to fit around one table, more or less, with 23 representatives. So you can see here the map of our members. We mostly have members in northwest of Europe. You can see the universities and the countries here. It's a conscious choice to limit membership for larger countries to 5 and smaller countries to 3. So if we would ever increase membership, it will not be with a UK university and not with a Dutch university, but we're not having any plans in that direction at the moment. I thought I had removed those slides, but apparently I didn't. I might send you an updated PowerPoint afterwards. So how do we work? Well, of course, we establish positions, as I mentioned, and we then sometimes, if we think it's relevant for the outside world or for the EU agenda, we publish them in papers, in statements. We have different sorts of publications, as many associations do. They're all freely downloadable on our website. So, and we have positions on many different topics relevant for both EU agenda, but also for our universities and universities in general. Of course, we focus on the EU agenda, including Horizon Europe. The framework program has been a very important focus area for LERU in the past, let's say, 15 years. It is also, I think, what made us stand out at a certain point from some of the other associations that existed at that point in time. We were able to provide really detailed feedback to the European Commission and to the European Parliament, for instance, when they were developing Horizon 2020, and we continue to do that. We just prepared a very detailed report on first experiences with proposal submission and development from coordinators from LERU universities, and that we really interviewed. Well, we from the office did not, but we worked with people from our institutions who interviewed coordinators who put together a proposal for an Horizon Europe proposal. And so that feedback, for instance, we're now discussing with the European Commission, and we will continue to do that. So I think that's really one of our added values, is that we can really work with our institutions and bring their feedback to the Commission. And we always think that what is important and relevant for our universities is also important and relevant for other universities, especially the research-intensive ones. So how are we now organized? Quickly a word on that, because I think it says something on how close we are with our members. Our most important decision body is the Rectors' Assembly. Our rectors meet twice a year, and we're really, it's really important that they come themselves. We usually have quite a good turnout of rectors. We never have all of them there at the same Rectors' Assembly, but we know them very well, our rectors, and we work really closely with them. We have a board consisting of 3 rectors with whom we work even more closely together, and they do they're the implementation of, well, they take care of implementation of the decision of the rectors' assemblies. They monitor our budget, but they are also a sounding board if we really need to act very quickly and check something with the rectors, but we don't have time to wait for all 23 of them. We go to the board for immediate feedback for green light or not on certain statements, press releases, or other things. We have policy groups. These are standing groups and have a representative from each of our member universities. They usually meet twice a year. They used to meet twice face-to-face. During COVID, they met 2 or even more times via Zoom, but now we will probably go for a mix. Although we see that now people really want to meet face-to-face, because it's so important to get to know each other, to get to be able to discuss things in detail and share practices. It's so important to know each other well. So in 2022, we see a focus on face-to-face meetings, but we will probably go to one face-to-face and one online meeting in the future. The LERU office has a number of policy officers. I'm the one responsible for research and education, and that means that I work with the policy groups on learning and teaching, digital education, research, and European research project managers. So these are mostly vice rectors, people that are at a policy level in their institution. Each of these groups has a steering group, and that's a group of people that develop the agenda of the meetings together with us. And that's how we also want to make sure that what we do in these groups is relevant for the universities and not only relevant for us in the office. We also have network groups, and that's for a good connection between the office and the universities. We have, for instance, a senior officer in each of our institutions who has an overview of everything we do and who, from his or her university, sits in our groups and helps to prepare directors for directors' assemblies and that sort of thing. We have ad hoc groups, and these are groups that focus on very specific topics which are difficult to cover by one of the policy groups. For instance, we have the European universities there because that's both research, that's education, that's international relations, and not everybody, it's in our institutions, there are different people who are involved in the activities of the European universities, so we have a separate group there. Not like EURASHE, we're not actively engaged in alliances. What we do is listen to our members who are involved in alliances, and from the 23 members, we have 20 are in alliances, so that's a vast majority. And so we listen to them, we see what they have in common. So it's really about our members in the alliances and what kind of points, positions we as LERU can take to support their work there or their concerns. We have, of course, like all alliances, we do networking, especially in Brussels. We have, when we publish a paper, we organize a launch event to discuss our paper with the larger public and to attract attention to the points we raise in the paper. We have a summer school, and we have also some exchange schemes, for instance, within the law field. We have an important partnership, and that's interesting to you, I think, with Central European universities. In Czech Republic, we have Charles University in Prague. We consciously decided to have 7 universities in 7 different countries, and it was set up in 2016. As I pointed out when mentioning the LERU membership, we are mostly northwestern based in northwestern west of Europe. And we do realize that is problematic to a certain extent. And we want to capture also concerns from Central European universities. And that's why this initiative was set up. And just last week, I think, we signed a new partnership agreement with these universities. And the consequence will be that we will work even more closely together. We will involve the C7 even more in our activities. Until now, they have been involved in some activities. For instance, when we organize our summer school, there are always PhD students from the C7 universities invited to participate in the summer school. We have developed webinars in 2020, I think in 2020, yes, for researchers or staff members from LERU and C7 universities. But we want to develop more this sort of activities. We also have international collaboration with sister networks across the globe. So these are also networks from research-intensive universities like LERU. They meet twice a year now online, usually one face-to-face meeting. And we also have published a lot of common positions in the past, for instance, on the importance of social sciences and humanities for research-intensive universities. I put the Hong Kong 3 and China C9 a bit at the bottom because recently, since COVID, they haven't been that involved in the group. But that doesn't mean that they will not be in the future. So let's see how that develops. But one important topic has been the impact of the COVID pandemic on collaboration, internationalization of these universities. And it was really useful to exchange information to see how things are going on in the other parts of the world. in this difficult period.
Sorry to step in. We just slowly have to move.
Just see if I have anything really. No, this is just our office. No, that's it. So we have a lot of information on the website, like our positions. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them at the end.
Thank you, Laura, and I'm really sorry for stopping you, interrupting you. And thanks for mentioning the C7 partnership. We are, of course, very well aware of that, and we are happy that that you are working renew the partnership and that you want to involve these countries even more. So. We will do our best to promote these possibilities and really to try to motivate the Charles University to be very active.
Excellent, thanks. They are very active already, but yes.
Okay, there is always there can always be done something more. So thanks a lot, Laura. And now we will move to Tatiana Pantelli, who is the head of Brussels office for EuroTech Universities Alliances. So Tatiana, the floor is yours. I don't know if you want to share your presentation by yourself or if we should do so.
Yes, if you don't mind. Yes,
okay,
I would like to do that. I hope that's coming.
Loading.
Yeah. No, that's the wrong one.
Now we can see it. Perfect.
That's the wrong one. Sorry, that's the wrong one. I'm just trying. I have it already on my desktop, so if I can.
Okay. So Bara, if you can just stop sharing, please.
Should I start or stop?
Stop. Oh, no, it's not you.
Because I'm not sharing.
Ah, sorry.
But I can do that if you want to.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. It should be there. Yeah.
Okay, now we can see this.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And here we go. Right. First of all, thank you, Denisa, for inviting me, and Cello, of course. So it's always very good to see other colleagues from Brussels. So that's also very nice, and to hear what you guys doing. I found a lot of similarities with LERU in what we are doing and how we are doing things. So that's also very interesting. And that shift to knowledge exchange from more kind of policy engagement, I can also see it in our network. So yeah, thank you, Laura, for sharing that. That's a very interesting trend. So it's not just with us. But a little bit about EuroTech Universities Alliance. We're small and even smaller than LERU. So you guys try to sit around one table, and it must be quite a big table. So we don't need that big one because there are only 6 of us. And we are universities of science and technology. Yeah, so only universities with that description can be part of the EuroTech Universities Alliance. The same with LERU is by invitations only, and we're also not looking for expansion at the moment. We expanded in 2018 and 2019, so we were 4 before, even smaller, and now we're 6. So we're still waiting until we're ready for the next step. But for now, the network includes Technical University of Eindhoven, Technical Universities of Denmark, LIX in Paris, and now this university also merging with other 5 universities in the Paris area, becoming EP Paris. So it's already a little bit expanding within one of the partners. We also have Technical University of Munich, EPFL from Switzerland, and Technion from Israel. So we have both EU and non-EU partners, which makes it interesting, but also challenging sometimes. Yeah, and that's why policy-wise we also in two dimensions here. In our mission, you can see that we're focusing a lot on science and technology, not surprisingly so. And we're also focusing on the science and technology for a purpose. Yeah, so we're working together with the European stakeholders to build sustainable and sovereign and resilient Europe. So we are looking very much on the realities of our times, and we adjust our mission and our activities and our topics of engagement accordingly. Yes, of course, we want to be visible in Brussels as other partners. And of course, it has to be visibility for a purpose. Yeah. So all our focus is very much inward because cooperation is the main focus for us. And we cooperate in science, education, and innovation, of course. So research, education, and linking our ecosystems. So not only academics, but also our companies and our ecosystem are involved in what we are doing or how we positioning ourselves in the European community. That's also very important for us. As I can see, as I can told you just now, a big focus on research, innovation, infrastructure, education, and we're doing it through a European university, which is called EuroTech Engineering University. So that's our main vehicle to deliver collaboration in education. We have big focus on sustainable campus development, and sustainability in this case includes not only, let's say, climate change adaptation or better, I don't know, more sustainable catering, but it's also about gender equality and diversity and initiatives like this, which touching people in a different way. And here in Brussels specifically, we focus on policy dialogue, positioning, and communication activities. The main features of the alliance, and that's of course dictates everything that we are doing. It's in-depth collaboration across education, research, and innovation, and this is delivered through many working groups. We're also looking at some funding opportunities, but that's not the main aim of the Alliance or the Brussels office. We are mainly focusing on the excellent pillar in Horizon Europe and previously Horizon 2020. So we have collaborative projects, of course, and we would like to have more of them, indeed, because that's also we can see as a first step towards further collaboration. So it's not the main aim, but it's a hook to bring researchers actually together. But excellent pillar is the most important, and of course ERCs and Marie Curie funding were very successful in that one. As I said, it's all about a collaboration, and everything we do in Europe, it's also focusing on a collaborative agenda. We work across 5 focus areas, as you can see on this slide. So it means, of course, we have some ad hoc activities sometimes, but the main focus would be on additive manufacturing, sustainable society, and of course sustainable society is very broad, but at the moment we're focusing on clean hydrogen, for example, within this area, and also on carbon capture and storage. Entrepreneurship and innovation is a cross-cutting and go across all these scientific focus areas, health and bioengineering, and maybe I give you a little bit of kind of future development. We're thinking to change this focus area a little bit in focusing on affordable healthcare. So that's a little bit different that's coming up. And of course, artificial intelligence, that's another area of activities. Some facts and figures, and maybe I will you will have slides, you can look at them later, but you can see the impact which we are trying to achieve. Yeah, so of course it's Horizon 2020, but it's not about sourcing the money from the European Union, but it's also how we contribute with our solutions to actually the overall agenda and how we can support Europe in finding technological solutions for the societal problems. You see that we have a lot of PhD students and we have a lot of inventions, yeah, so which is not unsurprising for the technical universities. So these are our main kind of support schemes within the Alliance and many important focus. And I will go very, very quickly through this one. So this support scheme is about supporting our researchers if they would like to apply for the European funding and working together, right? So in order to get this support, they need at the moment to be at least 3 universities working together on a specific funding proposal, and then they can get this support from us. And I will not show you the... Sorry for that. I will move on. Yeah. Then, of course, we have a scheme called European Venture Program, and this is about bringing our startups together where they can learn from each other and learn from prominent companies and very successful companies and entrepreneurs how to run their business. So this program already worked for several years. Then we have a new program called European Visiting Researcher Program, where researchers visit each other's lab and spend some time together planning further activities, or they can plan, for example, join PhDs or summer or winter schools and working together, publishing together projects, etc. So it's about bringing people together for any form of collaboration. We're working on exchanging and having access to research infrastructure in our universities, so our scientists could get that help from each other, and they can use also very expensive infrastructure to work together. And this is just a slide about visiting researcher program, which I can leave you for a reference, and the European Venture Program, which again you can look in the future. We also having joint activities with regards to bringing PhDs together for summer winter schools, and of course for the students we have our EuroTech engineering universities with a lot of colliders, let's say, so when they could work on the projects together and compete against each other. And then we also bring them to Brussels for the award ceremonies, and we can link them to the other partners and the companies here in Brussels, where they can learn even more from other organizations here. We have EuroTech course catalog, where all our partners exchange their courses, and our students can have access to the courses in the partner universities. So this is done through our EuroTech Engineering University, and 2 more partners outside of the Alliance, also part of this flagship project. This is actually CTU from Czech Republic, and Tallinn University of Technology from Estonia. So we're bringing some additional partners in the network in that way. Of course, we support our universities with positioning and policy dialogue. For example, we work on Association of Switzerland because EPFL is one of our partners, and because we strongly believe that countries like Switzerland and the UK should be part of the European communities, at least if we talk about joint research initiatives. Visibility, it's all for the purpose of supporting Europe, or even, well, I wouldn't say EU, but supporting Europe really in what we would like to achieve. And in this case, we try to work through demonstrators. So we try to develop solutions together in our network of the partner universities and then to demonstrate them to the European Commission and stakeholders here and other partners what can work. Yeah. And then if they're interested and they can work with us, or they would like to replicate some of these solutions, then of course they are welcome to cooperate. Our visibility, it's also very much internal. So we would like to make sure that all our stakeholders in our universities are involved and they benefit from this network, researchers, students, professionals, presidents, etc. So it's at all levels. EuroTech Alliance is visible.
Tatiana, sorry to step in,
Yeah.
but we still have one more speaker, and I would like to give him the chance as well. So if you can just briefly mention the rest of the presentation.
Yeah, I mentioned a couple of things. So for example, for visibility, and I think that's important for the partners because we run this online event and it attracted at the moment more than 25,000 views. Yeah, and that's really demonstrates how you can be visible if you are relevant and if you address the very important policy topic, right? So, but you can have a look at all our initiatives in communication as well on the website. Working groups, everything is visible on the EuroTech website. You can go deeper to see what we are doing and how we achieve visibility. EuroTech talks, these are scientific talks, and everybody is welcome to attend those. The next one is on the 22nd, so it's this Thursday. So please log in, have a look what we are doing science-wise. Everybody's welcome. It's an open one, and maybe you can build connections also with our scientists. And as I said, everything about the impact, would it be visibility or activities, internal activities, and have a look at us online. And you are very welcome to ask me questions or drop me an email if you are interested in some of those initiatives. Thank you, Denisa.
Thank you, Tatiana, very much, and sorry for interrupting
you. How can I stop sharing? Sorry.
Next to the leave button, there should be like stop sharing, the X sign on the top of the screen. Does it work?
Or maybe you can. Yes, got it.
Perfect. So last but not least, I would like to give the floor to Matthias Bjornmail, Deputy Secretary General of CESAER Group, who is not based in Brussels, but close to Brussels, and he will tell us more about CESAER. So Matthias, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and I'll keep it briefer. I realize many of you have other things ongoing. So my name is indeed Matthias Bjornmail from CESAER, a strong united voice of universities of science and technology in Europe. You can see a background, and the slides will be shared with you. I come from a strong research background myself from across the world. I used to work with the Marie Curie Alumni Association, and now since 2019, I'm at CESAER. CESAER is almost 60 research-intensive universities of science and technology from 27 countries in Europe and beyond. We were founded in 1990, and we're hosted on KU Leuven campus, which is where LERU is hosted as well. So of course, we're walking distance from each other. And KU Leuven is one of our founding members. We're an acknowledged stakeholder organization working closely with the EU institutions in a range of areas, and you can see some examples here. Our members, of course, have over 1 million students taken together, almost 100,000 academic staff, billions of EU research funding, which also highlights the interest from our association and our members in the engaging with EU affairs. And here you can also see the logos from our 57 members. And of course, you recognize many of these from some of the presentations we've heard earlier today as well. The current presidency, or the current president, is the rector of University of Ghent, and the vice presidents are at University of Twente and Polytechnica Bucharest. I won't go into too much details about the mission and values here, but suffice it to say, we have a threefold mission around inspiring, advocating, and learning from each other. And our values that guide us in all our activities are centered around academic freedom, institutional autonomy, scientific integrity, and promoting sustainable peace and prosperity. We have a range of annual reports, of course, where you can see summaries, public summaries of everything we do a given year, and all of them are publicly on our webpage. Just a few slides with sample activities to give a flavor of the type of work we do. Boosting equality, diversity, and inclusion is one area where we've done a range of efforts the last few years, including a declaration with concrete commitments that we are currently following up on. So this is very much learning from each other and holding ourselves accountable for change. A second is around balancing the whole topic on as open as possible and as closed as necessary. Of course, universities of science and technology engage very closely with the business as an industry on one hand, with global partners on another, and it's in a part of our DNA working with key technologies, artificial intelligence, quantum, etc. And all of these are high on the agenda on how do we make sure we work constructively with global partners while keeping items such as knowledge, safety, and security in mind and in a constructive way. We were one of the founding members of the European Open Science Cloud Association, and we currently provide the first president of the EOSC Association, Karel Leuben. So this is an area we work closely in. Our president personally is very engaged on the topic on advancing culture change. You can see an example here where he calls for a culture change is needed within universities. As a community, we have been seduced by simple but stifling interpretations of what an excellent researcher is. And he calls for action here at several levels inside universities, in EU institutions, but also from member states and funders on member state levels. Part of our follow-up here has been to join the core group or research assessment, and the agreement here has just been finalized this summer. So those of you who are interested in this may want to have a quick look at this as well, and we are of course following up there. My last example is the personal engagements that we do when we liaise with European institutions and stakeholders. One example here is that Wojtek Petraszek, the rector of Czech Technical University in Prague, one of our members, was appointed by our board of directors to liaise on behalf of the association with the Czech presidency of the Council of the EU. And we have the minister at our board meeting in Prague, and we're of course following up there with colleagues to see different ways of engaging and supporting the activities. So that was very fast going through the type of things that we do in CESAER, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to present ourselves here, and of course happy to follow up afterwards in writing as well, as I realize the time has run out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthias, for keeping it really, really brief, and sorry for not giving you more time. And thanks also for mentioning the Czech presidency, which also I would like to call up on our participants that now is the great time to make yourself more visible. We have still like 3 more months to go, so it's your chance to come to Brussels, organize some event or something, and to make yourself more visible. I would like to thank all of our speakers today. Unfortunately, we didn't have a time for the question session, but if any of our participants would have any question, please do not hesitate to send them to us via email. You all have our email address. And we will send you the promised presentations, and also the recording of today's webinar will be uploaded on our YouTube channel during the next week. And I would like to use this opportunity also to invite you all for our last webinar, which will take place this Thursday. And you will have the chance to listen to some good examples of single universities who decided to establish their representation here in Brussels. So we will have a representative of Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and also the smaller alliance, regional alliance, so the University Alliance of Stockholm Trio. And last but not least, we will also hear about the network of Brussels-based representation of universities, the UniLion. So if you are still not registered, you can do so until Thursday morning, and you will then receive the new link for the very last webinar. So once again, thank you all very much. You will also, you as speakers will also receive an email from us today, and we would like to follow up on this also with some personal meeting if you will be available for that. So it's really nice to liaise with each other, as was mentioned in your presentation, that it's also important to network among us. So thanks a lot, everyone, and have a lovely rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you, Denisa. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.